We want to welcome back everybody to Touch Base, our company podcast. I am Josh Haynes, the Director of Community Impact, and today we're going to be giving you part 2 of my conversation with Dave Marcinkowski as we discussed CANEI, Constant and Never-Ending Improvement. If you didn't get a chance to see part 1, I hope you'll go back and do that. With all that said, here's part 2. Now, you've talked about constant and never-ending improvement in a couple of different ways. I think it's important sometimes not just to define what is, but sometimes to define what is not.
Yep.
And so talk me through in your journey over the last, you're giving me 25 years of history. What is constant and never-ending improvement? What is it not to you?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is just change to change.
Okay.
And I think that's something that I believe, talking to people in our organization, there's this belief that, we did quacks, just to be different, or we chose this solution just to be different than what everybody else was doing.
Okay.
And that's not what it is. It's not change to change. It's not, I like to tell people, it's like everybody's using white paper, so we're going to use green paper because we want to be different. So being different is not CANEI. CANEI is very strategic. CANEI is very intentional. And there's a reason behind everything. And so as listeners are out there going, why did we do this? And we're going to have some Q&As coming up. I want those questions coming up because I can tell you it's not just because we want to be different. That's never going to be the answer.
Well, and let me stop you right there just to get it going. Like, for those of you who are listening to us today or listening to us in the future, we want you to know, like, questions are welcomed.
Yep.
Like, please bring questions and bring the hard ones. Bring just something that you want to know more about. And I think that one of the great things that I've noticed just in my little bit of time of getting a chance to be with you and the rest of the partners and the leadership of our company is like we want to have the hard question because we want people to authentically know, like, this is where we're at. This is the heart behind it, even if it's a mistake that we've made in the past or whatever it is. But keep going for just a moment with that, like, what it's not piece.
Yep. Well, it's not optimism. Optimism, I think it helps to be optimistic when you're kind of taking on this role. Like, I can be hopeful as I go through that door that there's something good on the other side. Because a lot of people will look at me and there's kind of this, I've heard people refer to me a number of times as, you're glass half full, everything's always hunky-dory for you. And that's not the case at all. Yeah. In fact, I'd go the other direction and say there's a lot of times for me where I reflect where I'm really anxious and really unsure of myself. And there's things that I've done, and this is my journey that I'm sharing. This isn't an expectation, but just something I think it's important for the folks listening to hear is, like, I go to my life coach, my Christian counselor, once a week. And, the majority of the time, it's like 55 minutes, I sit there and kind of just, puke all over myself talking about all these things that are making me anxious and upset and concerned. And then he'll come in with, like, hey, have you thought about this? And, I would say without a doubt, like, his value for me is you can't put a price tag to it, because he's helped me on this journey to kind of work through some of these challenges. We are in challenging times right now with an epidemic. Yeah. Add to it this mindset of abundance, and I want to talk about abundance here in a second, but where we're kind of still full bore taking on challenges and trying to overcome those challenges with new technology solutions and rolling out, it creates anxiety, it creates concern. It's like, why are we doing this now? Let's just take a break. And when you've got a value of CANEI and you really believe that, mind you, we're not going to do something just to do it, but at the same time, we are going to execute a strategy that involves constant improvement. So there's some things about that I think are worth noting. Growth is constant, never-ending improvement.
Yeah.
And we have grown substantially. That's why you and I are here doing videos instead of me talking to a group of people with you, because we can't get to everyone anymore.
Yeah.
And the hope for this is for this to help fill that void that exists out there.
Yeah. I do want to come back and ask you something regarding the Christian counselor, life coach that you mentioned just a minute ago, because you talk about, like, being in trying times and all those types of things. Whether it's because of the anxieties that several of us have because of the uncertain times that we're in, or even just trying to find our way in a new company or figuring out how my particular job fits in this overall picture of purpose and help and social responsibility. how would you encourage the employees, the team members that we have, regarding how they view their jobs, and the purpose behind it?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm going to kind of do this in two pieces. Let me talk a little bit about the counseling that I get, because I think another mindset that's out there is like, well, that's great for you, Dave, but that's not for me.
Okay,
and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to get a life coach. I was blessed to find somebody who I trust, who has had a huge influence in my life. But they're out there, and sometimes your life coach is your best friend. Yeah. Sometimes your life coach is your spouse. Sometimes your life coach could be, a coworker, a team that you're a part of. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I would encourage is be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
There was a period of time, especially probably the first 6 months to a year, where I'd go out to dinner with friends or something, and I would call them. I would want to talk about it because it was having an important part of my life, but I was afraid of the language that I was using, because I was like, they're going to look at me and think I'm totally psychopathic. Like there's some, dude, really, you're going to see a counselor? Well, you look like you have your act together. Well, no, I'm like everybody else. There's nothing special about me. Now I tell anybody who'll listen that that's who I am, because I've found that it has led to me being able to influence other people who are also at a time of need. And so that's why it's so important for me to share this in this environment.
Yeah. Well, I love that too. And I think it goes back to that piece. There's a couple of things there. I think it does. It goes back to that conversation of, one, we are human.
Yeah.
And we're all on the lookout for growth. Plus, man, when you are open about the places where you have sought out counseling from, whether it's a friend or even professional, you make it okay for people to be vulnerable and to actually discern what is best for themselves, for their life, for how they impact others.
So stop there for a second, because you used a word I think it's important to use.
Go for it.
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
So CANEI and vulnerable. So when we talk about these core values, there's a lot of words you can put under each one of them. Being vulnerable is a part about being CANEI. So I like to tell people that growth occurs in the space that we're not allowed. Mm-hmm. So we put ourselves in our box, and we stay in our box, and we basically, and if you're not growing, you're going the other way. You're shrinking, you're dying, however you want to say that. So when we put ourselves in that box, then we don't grow. We aren't following that value of CANEI. So if you're looking at where CANEI occurs, is in that vulnerability. I'm going to step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something with my team, or I'm going to look at something that, I'm going to put myself in a situation where, God forbid, I make a mistake. Mm-hmm. And it's okay making a mistake is CANEI.
Yeah.
We've made, and we're going to talk about some of these, we've made some bonehead mistakes. Some of them, I can sit there and say every one of them we did with the right intentions. We just didn't have the knowledge to make the right choice, or we had circumstances that made us make a choice. And at the end of the day, as an organization, it was very costly. But again, now you start talking about, so not only making mistakes is a part of CANEI, but the ability to make a big mistake and then learn from that, that's where CANEI goes off the chart. Yeah. And those are the kind of areas that I think as an organization, we need to cherish. We need to embrace and say, it's okay for us to look at a situation and not just stay the course, but go, you know what, this is holding us back. Yeah. This is holding my property back. This is holding me back. This is holding, our organization and the people that I touch every day back. So I can either sit there and hope somebody else steps into play and does something about it, or I can do something about it.
Yeah.
However small. It's a step in the right direction. And CANEI is a bunch of small steps. Occasionally you'll get a big step that you didn't really count on, but it's a bunch of every day, let's make one more step. Let's make one more step. And get to a point where those steps add up and you look back and you go, oh my goodness, look how far I've come.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you said in that I think is an important piece to point out is that when you made mistakes, you felt like the intentions were solid. The intentions were what they needed to be. And I think that's where other values that you're speaking about, we'll speak about in the future, that's where those things come in. That what forms that intent, what forms that motivation. I mean, we've made it abundantly clear, and for my sake too, like for us, Jesus Christ is the primary player in what's forming these intentions, and whether it's him or whether it's a team member with a different belief system, what is forming the intent so that it is an integrity move, even when it becomes a mistake.
Yeah,
those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, a great example. So how do we get quaxed? That's a great question I think needs to get answered, because it's really, that is CANEI in a lot of ways.
Quickly tell me, and just our listeners real quickly tell me what Quext is, just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Quext is the technology company that we've created that's kind of an offshoot of Madera, that deals specifically with technology solutions for our industry.
Okay, wonderful.
It is the words quest and next kind of pushed together, which I think is important. Like that means something to me. So it's like kind of our quest for what's next, which again, that's kind of CANEI. What's next? So let's keep looking for that. But like I was a Yardi geek for probably 15, 20 years. Like I drank the Kool-Aid, everybody else sucked. Yardi. Came to Madera, put everybody on Yardi. And for my evolution, like I had to kind of get past that mindset that was the right choice. Like to me, I couldn't even consider an alternative because that's what I was comfortable with. And what happened is Yardi, as it grew, and there's nothing, I know a lot of great people at Yardi, but when they grew, they started to focus on other things that didn't necessarily do what we needed it to do anymore. And so what we started to do is we had to kind of give up some things in order to kind of stay on that path, which was kind of the status quo. Okay, we can't do that anymore. We got to have a workaround for that because, this isn't as important to Yardi anymore. So that's who we are. And Yardi all they were doing was kind of, doing CANEI in their own way with growth and changing their views and some things like that. So we had a choice. And we went down the road of a company called Valence. I had a friend of mine whose nephew was building a property management company called Valence. Helped them to develop that, moved our stuff over to that. And that felt like, okay, this is a path that we can grow with. This is a path where CANEI, now our value can now kind of fit in. And after about 3 years of doing that, didn't really count on them selling that organization. And they sold it to a group that had a completely different view of the world with that product, which basically made it where that path didn't work anymore. Like we can't grow and do all the things we want to do if we stay on that path. So what path can we create that allows us to look at this as I want to do this for the next 25, 30, 50 years. I hope we live to 150, 100 years, whatever that looks like. What's going to give us that flexibility and ability to be able to continue to demonstrate CANEI as a real estate organization for that long a period of time? And the only way we could do it is to kind of do it ourselves. And so very costly to do that, very time consuming, very risky. But hey, we believe in CANEI.
Yeah.
So let's go for it. And we went down that road, and in January of 2019, we put our properties on that. It wasn't ready. It wasn't even near ready. I know there's probably people on here who still have a lot of bad feelings about that, who are listening right now. And I apologize that happened, that you feel that way. Unfortunately, if I had it all over again for those people, I'd do it all over again the same way, because we learned so much going through that pain. And like I said, growth occurs in the space we're not allowed. And that was a lot of space that we weren't really allowed, and it forced us to have to grow and to learn and to do things differently. Yeah. And I'm so excited about the next version of our software, which will come out sometime late spring, early summer of this year. And I think the people who are still carrying some weight around that are going to look and go, okay, wow, look what we did. And it is we. I think it's another really important stuff. There's conversations out there like, that's Dave's deal, that's Charlie's deal, that's Gary's deal. We're a team, we're a community, and going back to our core values. I like the word community. We like the word community because we are a group of people that have come together to try to do something for the betterment of the whole. Yeah. And that's what community is, and that's what we try to do with Quext. And along that journey, all these doors started open. Well, what are we going to do about smart technology, smart thermostats, locks? Hey, what about video and internet? Hey, what about, digital humans and websites and all these things? The next thing you know, we got a title insurance company and a digital bank and like all these pieces. And somebody out there, there's a lot of people out there who are probably like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. And some people are going to be like, why would you do that? And we're going to tell you why. And I assure you, there's reasons why. It's not just like, oh, it's so cool. We just wanted to be cool. Yeah. No, there's a strategy here. There's another evolution going on in our organization, and I'm sure people are seeing it. When we got into the business of buying properties in 2008, we were buying older assets. On the scale of ABC, we were buying C or below assets, and we were value add people. We were we're going to I would tell people, the bigger the train wreck, the better. That means that there's a lot of opportunities for us to bring value, and with value comes additional dollars. And that's how we cut our teeth. That's how we became who we are today. That's not where the opportunities are today. And so we had to adapt. We had to grow. We had to lean into our value of CANEI. And now we're looking at assets that are nicer assets. We're looking at, and that's not, like, some people may look at that and go, wow, you're just doing that because you don't want to deal with the Cs anymore. No, we know how to handle Cs.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that when we're out looking for apartment deals right now, that's where the deals are.
Yeah.
And so we can either sit there on the sidelines and go, well, this is just a season that doesn't fit Madera, so we're just going to sit in the sidelines and watch, or we can adapt and we can lean into our value of CANEI and we can start to take on something new. And with that comes a lot of challenges.
Sure.
We're looking at assets and doing things. Now, I have experience with this from my days in Marquette, so I'm able to bring a little bit to the table that this organization needs. And we've been able to recruit some amazing people to help us in this journey. But for folks who've been with us for a long time, they're probably going, what the heck, well, or they're looking at the AI, like, man, I wish I could offer that at my C property. And I want to go back to what I said way back when I moved from Marquette to Madera. It's all about economics.
Sure.
A C deal just doesn't have the money to do the same things an A deal does. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. Because everything, things like this cost money. And so, we have to have two different systems, two different principles, two different, we have to look at things and say, okay, I got to run that deal this way. I got to run this deal this way. Now, one of the beauties of Quacks, and I want to point this out because I think it's so important, we want to be able to bring the value of A's to all classes of assets. And a great example is smart thermostats and locks.
Okay.
If you look at the landscape today, those exist at nice assets. As a property's being built, we're putting them in, or a newer, nicer asset, more rent, those kinds of things, they're put in there. We built it for C deals. And it was our experience and our knowledge of those assets that allowed us to look at it differently and build something that right now I think is extraordinary. And I think it's going to be something that any property out there that wants to have that technology, we're going to give them a path to be able to do it. And it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the resident, it's a win for the property owner, and it's a win for us at Quacks.
Well, so talk about that for just a moment, because I want to point something out, because I continue to hear this as I learn what's going on here in various pieces. Part of you bringing these to C companies is this like social responsibility that you guys feel to others and about bettering their lives. Give me a little bit of that there, because that hits home.
Yeah. So Christ and community. So CANEI, these are where these three things all fit together. So like for me, I like to tell people, we want to make we're looking for opportunities to help people level up, to help people be a better version of themselves. What if Madera, Quacks, Select, Viva, what if our role was to help people be the best version of themselves? Oh, you're a real estate company or a technology company. Okay, that's what we do. But what if all we really focused on is through these pathways of what we do and what we can influence, our role was to help people be the best version of themselves. Best version of themselves means CANEI. Constant, never-ending, trying to be better. And that's who I think we are as an organization. And so we want to bring things like Quacks Connect. We bring down your cost of an expense that you're needing and paying. Everybody needs internet. In order, the world needs internet. You're seeing Elon Musk do with Starlink and things to bring it to the remote parts of the world. We want to bring high-speed internet to everyone. And during COVID, we look like geniuses. And that's, I don't say that with pride. I say that because there were so many people who were hurting, who needed entertainment, who couldn't go to the movies, couldn't go to the park, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go to a restaurant. They needed something.
Virtual learning with school.
Virtual learning with school. We brought them high-speed internet that worked. And yes, Quacks makes money. Yes, the property owner makes money. But yes, the resident saves a bunch of money doing it like that. And we have a long way to go with that. What we did, I think, was revolutionary. I believe very strongly in the next 5 to 10 years, everybody's going to be offering that video and internet solution through their apartment world. You're already seeing that. It's starting to ramp up faster and faster. What we did is we were on the cutting edge of that. And now, I get this a lot too. People are like, well, but so-and-so is going to follow suit. RealPage is going to buy a company, which they just did, and they're going to start doing that. I'm like, yeah, but while they're trying to catch up with us, we're already looking at the next thing, because we believe in constant and never-ending improvement. Meaning, like, we're not going to stop where we are. We're going to keep looking for ways to help people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having joined us. We hope you're getting a sense of the type of people that we want to be, both for our own benefit and for the benefit of others. And while the journey is long sometimes, especially the journey of growth, it is a worthy cause. The final piece of this discussion, part 3, will be headed your way shortly. Thank you so much for having listened.